the lovely Ali and Leah are on tech support duties. So if you have any problems, you can message them by clicking on the participants tab at the bottom of your screen. And if you type in Ali or Leah, their names should appear, and you can send them a little message and they will do their best to help you. Just so you are aware, this meeting is being recorded, and oh, I need to start the live stream. Hang on. Forgot about this bit. Okay, I'm just going to continue chatting and we'll see if that happens. It's really lovely to see so many of our pals here. I can see some previous winners. Having small technical issues, sorry. Right. It's nice to see some of our previous winners there. I can see Christopher Mackey, who won the Writing Prize last year. Hannah Foley, whose Kelpies Prize winning novel, The Spellbinding Secret of Avery Buckle, just came out earlier this year. And it's also really nice to see Francesca from our from the team that do our marketing over in America. One of the benefits of virtual award ceremonies, we can have guests from around the world. So we really want you all to get involved in the event tonight. So feel free to share your excitement in the text chat as we go through. If you're posting on social media, please tag us at Discover Kelpies and use hashtag Kelpies Prize. So lots of exciting things for you over the next hour. We have some fun polls for you to answer, the first of which should be appearing on screen now, and it will disappear again once you have answered it. We will be showcasing the 4 writers and 4 illustrators on our shortlist. I'll be having a chat to 2 of the judges. There's a chance for you to win some books, and then the moment you are all waiting for, I will be announcing the winners just before 6 p.m. So stay tuned and let's see what the results of that first poll are. And oh, nobody likes merfolk. That's a shame. Everybody loves dragons though. We've got a book for that. We have a book for all of these. This is my favorite dragon book. All right. Before I introduce our shortlist, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Flora's Books and the Kelpies Prize. Flora's Books started life as a religious publisher at Christian McLean's kitchen table here in Edinburgh back in 1976. Ironically, lots of us are back at kitchen tables this year, though we do have a wonderfully shiny new office waiting for us when we're ready to go back, so that's exciting. Our journey into children's books began in the 1980s with our discovery of Sweden's Beatrix Potter, Elsa Beskow. Our English translations of her vintage picture books were a huge success, and they continue to be among our bestsellers today. But it wasn't until 2002, when Floris acquired the Kelpies list from Canongate, that our children's books travels brought us back home to Scotland. Readers loved the classic stories by the likes of Kathleen Fiddler, Molly Hunter, and Teresa Breslin. But now we had to create a new path to find Scottish children's classics of the future. And so the Kelpies Prize was born in 2004, and we published the first winner, Catscape, by Mike Nicholson, a year later. Over the past 16 years, the Kelpies Prize has been our map, helping us find talented new writers here in Scotland. We're proud to see authors like Hannah Foley, Lindsay Littleson, Janice Mackay, who you'll meet in just a moment, and many more whose own journey began with the Kelpies Prize, growing and thriving as they reached new destinations. In 2014, we reached a fork in the road that led us to a new opportunity. The Kelpies Prize had been really pivotal in leading us to new writing talent, and we were confident that we could do the same with the Kelpies Prize for illustration. We were not disappointed, and the Kelpies Prize for illustration led us to illustrators including Amy Ferrier, Darren Gate, and Natasha Alinchich, who've joined the Floris family as a result. Then last year, just as we were about to start the judging process, we hit a fairly major obstacle in the form of a global pandemic. Plans were changed, books rescheduled, and we made the tough decision to postpone the 2020 Kelpies Prize as we work to plot a new route around this challenge. It may be almost a year later than we'd originally planned, but we are so excited to see where our Kelpies Prize journey takes us next. And I think now would be a good time to introduce you to our wonderful Kelpies Prize shortlist. So the shortlisters are going to start appearing on screen before you. And while that is happening, please put your hands together and share your excitement in the text chat for our Kelpies Prize for Illustration shortlist in alphabetical order. Leanne Goodall, Abby Pate, Sandra Simons, and Yvonne Summers. Congratulations. Woo! Excitement, excitement, excitement. And the Kelpies Prize for Writing shortlist, Fiona Burke, A.E. Daly, Fiona Mccarrick, and Jude Reid. As usual, our judging teams have spent many hours poring over the submissions, and after much deliberation, have managed to narrow them down to 4 incredibly talented illustrators and 4 amazing writers. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say a huge congratulations to all of you. I cannot emphasize enough how much of an achievement it is to make it this far, and I wish you all the very best of luck. So before we get into our shortlist showcase, we are going to introduce you to a former Kelpies Prize winner and also an author and storyteller, Janice Mackay. Janice won the Kelpies Prize back in 2009 with the first in the Magnus Finn series and has since become one of our most admired and prolific authors. Her novel, The Accidental Time Traveller, won a Scottish Children's Book Award in 2013. She's since published 2 more in the series. She's also the author of The Selkie Girl in our traditional Scottish Tale series and The Fairy Song, beautiful by the way, which is an absolutely gorgeous reimagining of Scottish fairy folklore illustrated by Rishi Masani and coming out next month. We're absolutely delighted to have you here, Janice. So could you tell us a little bit more about what winning the Kelpies Prize has meant for you?
Gosh. Well, I remember it really clearly. I was living in the far north of Scotland, and it was so exciting traveling all the way down to the event and feeling so nervous. But yeah, I won with that book that's right behind you, Magnus Finn and the Ocean Quest. And yeah, I would say that it was such a pivotal point, hugely. You know, I can almost think of my life in terms of before winning the Kelpies Prize and after winning the Kelpies Prize. And, you know, after winning the Kelpies Prize really meant living as a children's author and, you know, going around schools, having the huge support of florists and being able to call yourself an award-winning author. So it was just huge. You know, it was such a springboard. A great help.
Fantastic.
So yeah, thank you.
Amazing. And have you got any words of advice for this year's shortlist?
Yeah, a few. I think the main one is to keep writing. You know, whether you win or whether at this point you don't win, to just keep writing. And if you can find yourself a supportive group, buddies, maybe you've already got that, but I think that's really important to because it can be quite a lonely path sitting on your own writing. So connect with groups, connect with little networks that are going to support you. And then the other thing I would advise, and you probably already do this, but is find ways of connecting with your potential readers. You know, go into schools, into libraries, put events on, you know, YouTube or whatever. But yeah, get to know your readers and enjoy it. You know, I think that
Absolutely.
it's all about joy, ideally. You know, even if you're writing kind of horror stories or whatever, yeah, just remember to enjoy.
Yes, because
Yeah,
if you're
so
enjoying it, the readers will be enjoying it.
yeah,
It's very important. Thank you so much for that, Janice. And you have not heard the last of Janice tonight, as she has recorded an extract from each of our shortlisted writers, which we're going to share in just a moment, along with comments from Kelpies Prize for Writing judge Eleanor Collins, one of our editorial directors here at Floris. So let's meet our first shortlister for the Writing Prize, Finola Burke. Finola is a primary school teacher who lives in an old spooky house in Dundee with her husband and 2 sons. Reading stories is the favourite part of her day, and she loves nothing more than putting on a silly voice or two to really make the story come alive. This extract is from Finola's laugh out loud adventure novel for 7 to 11-year-olds, I Am Not a Naked Mole Rat, in which Danny and his best friends Frankie and Oliver clash with their terrifying teacher, the Flicker, and their sworn enemy, Karen Hill, when the future of their school is threatened.
My mum says I talk too much and that I don't think enough and that I really should stop talking and start thinking, or else I'm going to spend my entire school life in the time out chair. The thing she doesn't understand is that I don't actually mind the time out chair that much, because from the time out chair you can see everyone in the class and you can draw them in your notebook. Because when I ask the Flicker, that's my teacher, Mrs. Flick, she's always picking her nose and flicking it when she thinks no one is watching, how long my time out is, she always says indefinite, which pretty much means forever. And when I ask her what to do, she always just snarls, keep out of trouble. In the time out chair, all I do is draw and doodle, usually pictures of all the people in my class. I spend so much time in the time out chair that I almost have a book full now. I have hundreds of pictures of Karen Hill, mostly covered in terrible boils and rashes or making hideous, terrifying faces. Karen Hill loves getting people into trouble. She'll only be friends with you if you're a girl and you have a mobile phone and you change your nail polish every day. And I don't even change my socks that often, so I have no chance. Also, I would rather have my whole body painted in nail polish than be friends with Karen Hill. The teachers love her, and so do her friends Daisy and Ruby. And for some reason, even though everyone knows that she is actually Darth Vader trapped in a small girl's body, they always do exactly what she wants.
Finola Burke's entry offers laugh-out-loud humour, wry irony, imagination, and a cast of likeable characters. The judges also noted Finola's range. This entry demonstrates the ability to write for upper primary school-aged readers and for teens, and it also steps confidently in and out of contrasting genres.
That was amazing. That's such a funny story. Really loved the Darth Vader bit in that. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I absolutely appreciated that. Next up, we have A.E. Daly. Anne Daly grew up in York. She studied in Glasgow and Newcastle and now lives and works in Edinburgh. She has a background in art history and computer science and a lifelong love for science fiction, comic books and ghost stories. She received a Scottish Book Trust New Writers Award in 2018. And the extract you're about to see comes from Ice Machina, a historical steampunk adventure novel for 11 to 13-year-olds, which follows injured Tom Ashwood, the last survivor of the Royal Navy ship Freya's disastrous voyage, as he's rescued from the polar ice by mysterious steamship Hephaestus and its unconventional crew.
A slight pressure drew Tom's attention to his hand, still clasped strongly in the captain's. Few went barehanded in the Arctic, even indoors. Hayden's gloves were black and fingerless, but above the wool on her left hand, the fingers that held Tom's shone dully in the lamplight. Without comment, she released Tom and set about unbuttoning her shirt cuff. The sleeve was full and loose, and Hayden calmly drew it back until her whole arm was exposed to the shoulder. Tom stared. It was a rugged, tarnished thing, bronze dark, as nicked and battered as an old ship's cannon, its joints and turnings far less ornate than Chance's hand or Tom's false foot, but still extraordinary in their detail. Tom had seen replacement limbs before, crude pegs or hooks on wounded soldiers and ex-sailors, and once, in a museum, a segmented iron hand that had been favoured by a knight, but not one of them approached the fluid artistry of Captain Hayden's arm. The metal was finely pierced for lightness, he supposed, and as she lifted it without a shred of effort, stretched and flexed her fist and elbow, Tom gazed in fascination at the golden clockwork smoothness of its inner mechanisms. Very faintly he could hear them, a watch-soft whispering of gears. He turned slowly to Ravenscar, awestruck. "Chief Automator," Tom said, remembering. "That's you, isn't it? You make these." Ravenscar inclined his head. "That arm is among my earliest successes. It pains me as a craftsman now, but the captain is obstinate and refuses all offers of improvement." Hayden chuckled. "Give up, my friend. My arm and I have travelled too far together to change now. Scarred but serviceable, that's us both." "Your foot's one of mine, if you're interested." Ratwell grinned at Tom from the shadows. "My best yet, so look after it."
A.E. Daly's Kelpies Prize entry is imaginative, atmospheric, and wholly unique. The judges were impressed by the compelling characters and engaging voice, as well as the skillful, confident writing, which draws the reader immediately into the unexpected.
Love a bit of steampunk. Very excited about that one. Okay, so we are going to turn our attention to the Illustration Prize now. And I would like to introduce you to our art and production director, Leah Mcdowell, who, along with the rest of the design and production team, was amongst those assessing the entries and deciding on the winner. Hi, Leah.
Hi, lovely to see you all tonight.
So, can you tell us a bit about what you were looking for from the entries this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Big hello to all of our shortlisters in particular. It's lovely to see you all this evening. So for the 2020 prize, we asked entrants to submit 5 illustrations for a children's book on the theme of My Scotland. And as you know, the Kelpies list publishes books about Scotland for Scottish children. And we were keen to see how contemporary artists living in the country would interpret their experience for young readers. So we encourage them to express what they love about the country, potentially looking for inspiration in Scotland's wildlife, plant life or landscapes, its cultural heritage and history, or the entrant's own experience of living here. So what the judges really wanted to see was an individual and diverse reflection of Scotland that was created with a young audience in mind. The judges particularly appreciate entries that demonstrated three key elements. And the first was dynamic composition, because a picture book spread can be made really special or it can fall flat depending on the composition used in the illustration. So good composition will highlight the key elements of the scene, guiding the reader's eye to the parts of the image that best support the narrative. Second element was character consistency. So illustrations for the My Scotland theme could be unconnected, or they could be part of one narrative. And if the artist chose the latter, then ensuring that characters appear consistent and easily recognizable throughout is really key. If that's not done well in a picture book, it can really impede the flow of the story. And the third element was an engaging narrative. So a single image can contain a really rich story. And while our picture books usually use artwork to support a written narrative by a separate author, we love it when an illustrator has the skills to tell a story without words. So that's essentially what the judges were looking for in the Kelpies Illustration Prize entries, and they found them with bells on in the work of our shortlisters, Abby, Yvonne, Leanne and Sandra. So a huge congratulations to all four of you, and I hope you're all feeling suitably chuffed with yourselves.
Fantastic. Thanks for that little insight into the mind of the judges. Okay, so let's take a look at our first illustration shortlister. First up, we have Leanne Goodall. Leanne grew up in Argyll and is now a student at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. She's inspired by the wilderness, the wildlife, and the mythology of Scotland and loves exploring new places. She works with a variety of materials, but likes to specialise in digital painting with a drawing tablet, which allows her to really capture the magic wherever she goes.
Leanne's entry gave her the opportunity to create a set of illustrations based on Scottish mythical creatures, something she's wanted to do for a long time. For each of her illustrations, she took a unique approach of reinventing our idea of what these creatures are and how they could be presented in a narrative. Leanne created two different illustrations of the unicorn, one as if it was in a field guide to mythical creatures, and the other as part of a narrative showing the unicorn travelling into our world through a magical cave. She chose to link the Selkie with Fingal's Cave to reference the joint Scottish and Irish mythology, showing the Selkie on a quest for a magic pearl. For her fairies, Leanne chose to create suspense as they try to hide from the owl perched in the tree. Leanne's final illustration is based on the tale of the Kelpie who was forced to build a castle for the McGregor clan and depicts the Kelpie racing across the water. Leanne's fantastic creatures captivated the judges. They were wowed by the beautiful renderings of Scottish landscapes and the fluid movement captured in the compositions. The judges commended the sense of magic and wonder conveyed in each illustration, coupled with atmospheric depictions of iconic Scottish myths and legends.
Wow, those are really stunning illustrations. Congratulations, Leanne. Next up, we have Abby Pate. Hi, Abby. Abby lives in Edinburgh and she has recently completed an HND in illustration. With a background in archaeology and paleontology, she is inspired by the natural world and ancient history. She aspires to be a writer and illustrator of non-fiction picture books and is excited by projects that require complex information to be communicated in a mostly visual way. Abby usually works digitally, but she likes to incorporate textures and brushstrokes made with traditional media. Let's have a look.
Abby's entry imagined a non-fiction book about Scotland's amazing wildlife. She wanted to experiment with the infographic format and find interesting ways to present information that children would find fun and engaging. She loves Scotland's natural history and thought that too few people were aware of the fantastic array of species that call Scotland their home, so decided to change that with her entry. Abby challenged herself to create something that used the infographic format to present information on Scotland's animals in short, digestible snippets that would be memorable for young readers. Non-fiction is a genre that Abby naturally leans towards, and so she found this a great opportunity to combine her interests in illustration, design, and the natural world to find new ways of presenting this information to young readers. The judges enjoyed and learnt a lot from Abby's entry. They were impressed by the use of appealing infographics to explore the wildlife of Scotland and how the content was tailored for a young audience. They commended the use of texture and colour, well-balanced page compositions, and skilled application of hand lettering to produce eye-catching designs.
Fantastic. And it's always good when the judges learn something. Always a bonus. All right, we have reached our halfway point, and hopefully you all have a bit of a taste for the incredibly difficult decision that our judges have had to make this year. Before we take a quick break though, I want you to get those brains in gear for our Kelpies conundrum. In a moment, you are going to see a phrase on screen which can be rearranged to form the title of a Kelpies Prize winning book. Send your answers privately to Ali. There will be instructions on how to do that in the text chat in just a second, and we'll draw names from all the correct answers to win a £20 voucher to spend on Kelpies books. So feel free to top up those drinks, whatever you need to do, and we will be back in exactly 5 minutes time, so that will be exactly 5:35. Thanks very much, everybody. See you in a few. All right, welcome back to the second half of our Kelpies Prize Award ceremony. I hope you're all feeling refreshed and ready to see the rest of our amazing shortlist. So we are sticking with the illustrators and kicking off our second half with Sandra Simons. Sandra is a graphic designer and illustrator who grew up in the Netherlands and now lives in Glasgow. She enjoys combining her illustration and design skills to create illustrated products, which she sells in her own eco-friendly online shop called Little Trinket Studio. She draws her inspiration from the wildlife and nature surrounding her, even in the heart of Glasgow. Sandra works in a variety of media, from gouache, watercolors, and pencils to digital illustrations. So let's have a look at her entry.
For her entry, Sandra was inspired by Scottish nature and wildlife, especially the Scottish wildcat. She decided to pick a wildcat as her main character and show their search for a friend as they embark on a journey through the Scottish landscape. This allowed her to explore different scenes and to depict famous Scottish landmarks. Sandra wanted to show both the beauty and the fragility of nature, particularly because the Scottish wildcat is so close to extinction. Her character's search also creates awareness for the situation of this wildcat species with a young audience in mind, teaching them about the natural world surrounding us. When creating her illustrations, Sandra always kept the bigger story of her character's journey in mind. She thought about where text would sit on the page and its relationship with the images. She tried to challenge herself at every stage by taking it a step further. The journey of Sandra's lonely Scottish wildcat charmed the judges. They recognised the consideration given to composition and the effective use of white space. They appreciated Sandra's use of humour and charming character designs to communicate an important environmental message to young readers.
Amazing. I just love the cheeky little seagull sitting on the fence. He's very cute. Okay, so now moving on to the final shortlisted entrant for the Kelpies Prize for Illustration, who is Yvonne Summers. Yvonne is based in Edinburgh and recently made the leap into illustration after working as a graphic designer for almost a decade. Looking to capture a sense of fun in her work, Yvonne likes to mix graphic design with inky textures and pencil drawings to create lively, engaging illustrations. Let's see what she's got.
When Yvonne was a child, her parents would always invent adventures and missions for she and her brother to go on, to go find treasure or to hunt monsters. In reality, they were making up stories to keep them amused on long weekend walks. It's these adventures that form the basis of Yvonne's entry. Once she thought of a monster hunter's guide, she says, everything fell into place. Yvonne worked in a much more playful style than she has previously, and found the illustrations really fun to make, so much so she wanted to keep going. She aimed to create something that will engage and excite a young audience. She's most proud of creating illustrations that she and her brother would have loved to see as children, a girl adventurer and her bookish brother. The judges were delighted by Yvonne's entry, which drew inspiration from her childhood experiences of exciting monster hunts with her brother. The judges noted the effective use of a limited colour palette, the thought that had gone into creating engaging material for young readers, and the awareness of contemporary trends in children's book design and illustration.
I just love the whole concept of that. The monster hunting backpack. We all need one of those in our life. Okay, so what a brilliant way to finish an incredibly high quality shortlist. We're going to make you wait a little bit longer to find out the winner though, because we've got two more fantastic writers to showcase first. Before we do that though, I would like you to meet Sally Polson. Sally is our second editorial director, along with Eleanor, who you've seen in our videos. They head up the editorial team who had the unenviable job of deciding the winner of the Kelpies Prize for Writing. Sally, can you tell us a bit about what you were looking for this year?
Yes, thanks, Kirsten, and hello, everyone. We asked the entrants to submit 3 pieces of writing. The first was a synopsis and 5 chapters for a children's novel or chapter book. The second was a synopsis for a different book. And the third was a short story prompted by the opening line, "Someone," insert name here, had a secret that no one must ever discover. So I'll share 3 of the things we were looking for during the judging process. The first, which is a big one, is we were looking for writing that immediately drew us in with an engaging voice and characters. We wanted to be intrigued by the situation those characters found themselves in and left eager to find out what happens next. The second was by asking for several pieces of writing, we were hoping to see range, that the writer has more than one good idea, or perhaps that they can write in more than one tone or for different age groups. And the third, we were looking for writers that our editorial team can mentor successfully. So writers whose work fits the kinds of books we publish and the age groups we publish for. The standard was very high this year. It was very hard to narrow the entrants down to this shortlist, never mind pick a winner. All the shortlisters are really talented and accomplished writers. I'd like to thank you all for entering. It's been a real pleasure to read your work, and I wish you all the very best with your future writing journeys. Good luck.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sally. All right, so let's meet our final 2 shortlisters, starting with Fiona Mccarrick. Fiona grew up in Glasgow and Argyll, spending her childhood sailing the Scottish lochs and dreaming of pirates. She's worked as a lawyer and she's currently concentrating on her writing. She was shortlisted for the Scottish Book Trust New Writers Award in 2016 and she won in 2018. This extract is from Silver Wolf, Fiona's dramatic adventure novel for 11 to 13-year-olds, featuring a young wolf called Riff, who's separated from his pack while being transported to a remote Highland estate by a gang of animal traffickers, and lonely Zoe, a girl drawn into the dangerous fight to help them.
A cold sun beat down on Riff's back as he moved swiftly between clumps of ice-crisped heather. It was the time of freeze, when food was scarce and wolf packs sometimes joined up to survive. Ahead, the long grasses had begun to toss wind messages. He loped headlong into the gust. His ears pricked for the sounds of his pack calling out for him. As the noisy croaks of crows and geese, whoops whirled about him, his ears flopped, then almost as quickly sprung up again. In the jumble of softer noises, he had recognized a very faint, clinging rattle, the sound of a fallen cage inside a lorry. His tail flicking with sudden hope, he tried to pinpoint the sound before it disappeared. A forest covered the distant moorlands like a green pelt. The rattle came from somewhere inside it. He took off at once. By the time he had reached the dark green arc of the tree line, dusk was rolling down through the treetops. The faint sound of rattling had gone. The trail was cold. Riff slunk along the ring of giant trees, feeling tiny. The hairs along his back bristled as unfamiliar noises drifted out from the shadows. Hundreds of tangled wild ways led into the forest. Which twisted route to take? He advanced into the emerald glow, his tail dangling limply behind him. Would he ever be with his brother again?
Fiona Mccarrick's entry is vividly written, with a concept that captures both dramatic adventure and real emotional depth. The judges enjoyed Fiona's strong, pacey plot and her refreshing original narrative style, containing plenty to comfort and excite upper primary school age readers.
Amazing. That one is so atmospheric, isn't it? All right. So moving on to our final shortlister, last but by no means least, please welcome Jude Reid. Jude is a consultant surgeon living in Glasgow with her husband, 2 children, and a border collie. She enjoys playing tabletop role-playing games. She's a keen student of ITF Taekwondo and probably drinks more coffee than she should. She does her best writing at night, which is just as well as that's the only chance she gets. And as you can see, she is in fact joining us from work. So big props to that. The following extract is from the Nighthouse Keepers, a fantastical adventure novel for 11 to 13-year-olds in which young Ailey wants to follow in her family's footsteps as a night housekeeper, part of a secret organisation responsible for guiding the souls of drowned sailors safely home. But instead, she finds herself caught up in a mystery that takes her into uncharted waters.
It was dark by the time I saw Mum's boat coming back. At first, I could only see the faint pinprick of her lantern. Then, as the moon came out, the boat's silhouette was just visible, dark, against the silver-topped waves. I ran down to the kitchen and lit a lantern and carried it outside to wait by the steps. I'd seen Mum row from the reef to the night house more or less with her eyes shut, but I wanted to be waiting with a light to guide her, just in case she needed it. I tried to see if the boat was sitting lower in the water than usual, if there was anyone living along with her, but I couldn't make anything out. The creak of the wood and the rattle of the oars drifted across to me, getting closer by the second. Only now did I feel the tension of the day starting to ease. In a few minutes, Mum would be back home. We'd make tea and eat toast. She would tell me about the ship caught on the reef, and we'd continue our unspoken pact to avoid talking about leaving Skerry-Doo until the last possible moment. The moon passed behind a cloud. The boat rattled hard against the base of the night house, and I scrambled down the iron rungs, ready to catch the rope and moor it. "I'm here," I called. Mum was sitting in the middle of the boat, just a shadow against the night sky. She didn't move. "Mum?" I leaned over towards her, holding out my lantern. "Is something the matter?" The boat rattled against the stone again. Mum stood up sharply, and I almost dropped the lantern as I jerked back, feeling my shoulder muscles tighten and tense. "What's wrong?" And then I realised it wasn't Mum in the boat.
Jude Reid's Kelpies Prize entry displays assured and engaging characterisation in an involving plot. The judges felt the tone was perfectly pitched for upper primary aged readers. They also enjoyed Jude's capacity to craft dramatic pace alongside more contemplative moments.
I think that was the spookiest of them all, and I'm very glad that we had Eleanor's soothing voice straight after the extract to calm us all down again. So that brings us to the end of our incredible shortlist showcase, and there should be another wee poll for you appearing on the screen now. And final call for answers to our Kelpies conundrum. If you know what thrilled warthog wishes can be rearranged into, send a message privately to Ali and be in with a chance of winning £20 worth of Kelpies books. All right, but before we do that, let's find out what everyone's favourite Scottish animal is. And the winner is the Highland cow. Well, I am pleased to report that you can find all of these animals and more in the amazing Animal Atlas of Scotland, which just came out at the end of last year. All right. And now, it is the moment that you've all been waiting for. Writing shortlist. Get ready, we're going to do you first. Just a recap of who our wonderful shortlisters are. We have Finola Burke, A.E. Daly, Fiona Mccarrick, and Jude Reid. And I have in my possession this very exciting top secret envelope, which I am going to open now. And the winner is Jude Reid. Congratulations, Jude. So Jude, would you like to say a few words? You have the floor.
Thank you. I hope I'm successfully unmuted because I've not been doing that reliably recently. Thank you. It's a tremendous honour and very unexpected, particularly considering the calibre of the other entries. So I'm absolutely stunned and extremely grateful. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Jude. Absolutely well deserved. All right, well, I cannot wait to see what the future holds for all of the shortlisters. I saw several people in the chat saying that they would quite happily read all 4 of those books, and I 100% agree. So hopefully we will see some of those books on bookshelves in the future. But now let's move on to the Kelpies Prize for illustration. And I have a second exciting top secret envelope, which I am going to open now. Whilst I do that, I'm going to remind you who our shortlist is. We have Leanne Goodall, Abby Pate, Sandra Simons, and Yvonne Summers. Who is it going to be? And the winner of the Kelpies Prize for Illustration 2020 is Leanne Goodall. Congratulations, Leanne. Would you like to say a few words? You have the floor.
Gosh, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Kirsten, for putting this together and everybody at Florist Books. It's been an amazing opportunity and I've really enjoyed being part of the experience. I just want to say thank you to all my tutors as well and teachers that have taught me how to be at the level I am today. It's just been so amazing journey. Thank you to all my friends and family who've supported me, encouraged me, and well done to everybody who's taken part of such an amazing array of talent that's been showcased in this competition. Well done to everybody. Thank you.
Well done, Leanne. Congratulations once again. So we are going to quickly spotlight our 2 winners for a quick screenshot. So you can unspotlight me for this for a second. I don't need to be in this. But shortlisters, now is the time for your close-up. So give us a wave, give us a smile. I'm going to assume that my tech support team are doing the thing because they're wonderful. And once that screenshot's done, we can go back to me. Congratulations, Leanne and Jude, once more. And congratulations to all the rest of the shortlist. There we go. Back to me. And the last thing to do is to see how many of you cracked our Kelpies conundrum. So let's have the conundrum back on screen. The phrase was thrilled warthog bushies, and the answer is The Girl Who Lost Her Shadow by Emily Elect. This won the Kelpies Prize in 2017, 2018, I can't remember what year now, a couple of years ago. But we will pull a winner at random from all of the correct answers and we will be in touch with your voucher. So we have reached the end. of our very first virtual award ceremony. And I just wanted to end by saying thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. I am so impressed by how many of you have decided to come along and celebrate the Kelpies Prize with us. Thank you to everyone who entered, and look out for details of the Kelpies Prizes 2022, which we will be announcing this autumn. Thank you so much to Janice Mackay for bringing those extracts to life for our enjoyment. And thank you to all the booksellers, teachers, librarians, agents, and everyone else who supports the work that we do here at Florist. We are forever grateful. Shortlisters, we will be in touch with all of you in the next few days, so keep an eye on your emails, and congratulations once again. I have very much enjoyed hosting you this evening, and I really do hope that we can do this again in person next year. But for now, thank you very much and good night.